Yeah, I don't know. My camera's all messed up, so we're gonna have really awkward lighting.
Okay, there we go. I think we can make this work. Ryan, thank you for joining us. We appreciate you out of your day to speak with us. And we will start with questions. If you have a question for Ryan, friendly reminder, feel free to use the chat or raise your hand within the Zoom platform. And to kick us off with questions, we're going to go to Dustin Albino. Go ahead, Dustin.
Yeah, Ryan, obviously not locked into the 500. How stressed out are you entering Speedweeks?
Not stressed at all. I think it's we're going to go down, and if everything works out the way I think it's laid out, we should qualify in on speed. So I feel pretty confident with it.
Cool. Thank you.
Okay, next question. We will take Jordan Bianchi. Go ahead, Jordan.
Ryan, your team does not have a charter for this year. So a couple questions about that. One, does that change your expectations or your approach to each race, knowing that you're not locked in each week?
I think as a racer, you show up every single week trying to get the most out of your equipment. So that doesn't change anything about what I'm doing. And our approach for Daytona is the same thing as it's been every year, except I think we're going to be just a little bit more aggressive than we have in years past. When it has come to the stages, we've typically kind of just tried to lay back and make sure we were there at the end. But I think stage points are so important now that I think you got to race every single lap.
The second question about your team and where it's at. What have you been told about this year in terms of sponsorship, whether you guys are going to run all 36 races? Your team owner, one of your team owners has made some comments that it's not a foregone conclusion that you guys are going to race every single week. I
mean, I think you guys know as much as I do, as much as we all know. So we're going to continue week after week, and hopefully everything that is there, and we're having a solid season, and everything will come together.
Thank you.
Yep.
Okay, we're going to take our next question from, let's see here, Kevin with RSN Trackside. Go ahead, Kelvin.
Hey, Ryan, thanks for sitting down with us this afternoon. Just looking at the NASCAR schedule, they're making it as the most exciting year in NASCAR. All the changes that came with the schedule this year. Out of all 6 changes with the road courses, Nashville and Bristol Dirt, which track are you looking forward to most?
I'm looking more forward to really Barton. Our typical short tracks I think are the most exciting to me. But I'm looking forward to Bristol Dirt. It's something new. The road courses obviously are exciting also. So, hey man, I'm a racer. If there's a trophy involved, I'm excited about it.
Thanks, Ryan. Good luck this next week.
Yep, thanks.
Okay, we're going to take our next question from Chase Holden. Go ahead, Chase. Go ahead, Chase Holden. Go ahead. Okay, we'll take our next question here from Steven with 24/7 Sports. Go ahead, Steven.
Ryan, in Daytona 500 qualifying last year, you ran a 46.96. It took 47.63 from the open teams to make the 500 on speed. But this year, there's a new variable in the fact that qualifying is going to be at night. Do you guys have a baseline of where you expect speeds to be yet? And if so, what lap time do you expect will get you in on your time alone?
Well, to be honest with you, I expect to be wide open and pretty much holding the bottom. So at everything from there on out, it's still Daytona. There's going to be no draft. So it's really just going to come down to preparation and just having, I guess, not a strong headwind if there is one or anything like that. So I don't really know. I guess we'll have to find out.
Sounds good. Thanks, Ryan.
Yep.
Okay, we'll take our next question from Ashley McCubbin. Go ahead, Ashley.
Ryan, we see you run the modifieds a lot. What is it about modified racing that is so much fun for you?
It's really just the racing I'm from. It wouldn't. I mean, if I had sprint cars, or light models or anything that were available to me, I'd be racing those too. It's just modifieds are where I'm from, and I race for Eddie and Connie Partridge, which are the owners that I've been with for five or 6 years now. So that's really why I do it, and I do it because I love racing and I love winning. So that's kind of my thing that I do outside of obviously the Cup Series to keep racing. You guys see Kyle Larson, Christopher Bell, some of these other guys going out and doing this stuff, and this is my sort of version of that. So I'm gonna go down here to Speedweeks and run some races, hopefully win a few and continue to do that throughout the season.
And then looking at different motorsports items, what is something that may be on your bucket list to get behind the wheel of one day?
It would probably be an asphalt sprint car or Silver Crown. Those are something that I've always enjoyed watching through the years and growing up around. When I was younger, we traveled out, I would say west, like Indiana and all that. It was somewhere that I just wasn't born in that part of the country. So it was a lot more difficult for me to do that type of racing. So if there's something that I'd love to do, it would probably be in one of those cars, or even the night before the 500 in a midget. So it's those are some pretty sweet race cars.
Perfect. Thank you.
Yep.
Okay, we're going to take our next question from Bob Pockris. Go ahead, Bob.
Yeah, Ryan, you've been through a lot in your career. So is all this drama over whether you're going to have a charter or not going to have a charter, need to qualify, not need to qualify? Is it easy to handle, or is it difficult to handle?
I think you nailed it, Bob. It's all right. It's just another hurdle. I think we're going to be just fine. And to be honest with you, it's not like I haven't had obstacles in my career. So it's certainly not easy. It's not like you're guaranteed in, but working with Trent and some of the things that have been going on throughout the off season, I feel confident that we should have plenty of speed, and we can get the car in on time, which will make the duels that much less difficult, just because no matter what plan you come up with, when it comes to Daytona, you can be as prepared as possible, but you never know what's going to happen. So we'll see. Hopefully we qualify in on time, and everything just becomes easier throughout the weekend. And if we don't, it's just going to come down to executing and making sure that, everything goes right and get ourselves in.
Would this make you, maybe have the team take a chance for a win on strategy earlier in the year, considering the situation you're in?
I think it's gonna push us to race some more for stage points. When it comes to the first two stages at Daytona, usually if you look at years past, we've kind of hung around purposely to make sure that we got to the end. But it seems like these wrecks have all been happening in the last, the final 10 laps. So you're just giving away stage points. And if you look at last year, we were -3 points after 3 races, due to, not going after stage points, wrecking in the final laps at Daytona, blown motor, and just not a good weekend at California, and some penalties. So we're gonna try and get as many points as we can, and if we're in position to be aggressive, we're gonna be aggressive. So that's what it comes down to.
Thank you very much.
Yep.
Okay, we'll take our next question here from Marty with ROC Sports. Go ahead, Marty.
Thank you, Amanda. Ryan, hope you're doing well, man. Kind of just a little follow-up on Ashley's question with the modified racing. As a guy from New York, do you have any plans? What's the schedule look like for your modified car? And if so, any trips to Oswego or Lancaster, New York, possibly?
Not really sure as far as Oswego or Lancaster. I will probably end up running in Long Island at some point throughout the year, especially when the season's over. I know they're having a big 300 lapper at Riverhead, so I plan on doing that. I'm going to run the modifieds. I plan on it anyways throughout the season, just to keep racing, with the way the schedule is right now, and really just being a lot of one-day shows. I think, in my point of view, it's extremely important for drivers, not only to be in the seat, but to be present at your local racetracks where you came from. So I plan on doing that. I plan on being very visible and racing.
And these past few years, the Daytona 500, it's not a matter of if, and it's a matter of when the big one happens. I've been asking drivers throughout the week on where they want to be, and a lot of them saying you either want to be in the front, but Chris Buescher has been saying there's like no safe place at all for the big one. So do you agree with Chris on that, or is there a specific spot, whether it be the front or the back, you want to miss that wreck?
I 100% agree with Chris. There is no right answer. I think we saw wrecks at the tail of the pack last year. We saw them at the front of the pack. We saw them in the middle of the pack. So really it just comes down to if you have opportunity to get stage points, you got to run up front. And if you're gonna elect to run in the back, you got to make sure you're about a straightaway back. So, and yeah, there's really no safe place at Daytona.
Thanks for your time, man. Have a great Speedweeks.
Thanks. Appreciate it.
Okay, next question will come from Chris Estrada. Go ahead, Chris.
Thank you. Obviously, last year, Ryan, you had to deal with a lot of DNFs, and you're always going to have situations that are out of your control. But after a season where you had a lot of bad luck, have you and your crew chief sat down to kind of discuss how to minimize those mistakes on your end, so if anything does happen to you, it's out of your control?
I mean, there wasn't a whole lot that was in my control at some points last year, so that really, I didn't get any speeding, penalties from what I believe, or maybe I did have one actually. That was at Talladega, but it's just executing, I guess, and just having things go your way. Sometimes they don't go your way, and you can have a season like that. It started off in a rough spot, and then it had periods of where we were running really good and didn't finish it off, or just things like that. So I think going into 2021, it's going to come down to starting off on a good note and getting some points on the board, because obviously it's important not having any owner points, not having any qualifying. It's going to be important to have some points on the board so we don't have any issues moving forward throughout the season.
And if I could do a quick follow-up, this Chevrolet starting up their new partnership between Hendrick and ECR on the engine side. You mentioned that you're confident in the speed that you'll have going to Daytona, but how much of a help will that be, not just at Daytona, but throughout the year for your team?
I think it's important to have really good motors, especially with the 550 package, because that makes all the difference. So I feel confident that we won't have any engine failures and that we'll have good horsepower.
Thank you.
Okay, we're going to take our next question from Anton with ASN Media. Go ahead.
Good afternoon, Ryan. Well, yesterday we found out that you will have to race your way into the Daytona 500 as your car was declared open. Does that change your approach to the Speedweeks as your full-time schedule for this season is in jeopardy?
Doesn't change anything. I think, like I said earlier, I'm a racer, and I'm gonna, every time I show up, no matter what, it comes down to performance and trying to win or maximize your day. So that's gonna be how I continue to attack my days.
Thanks. Wishing you all the best for the Speedweeks.
Thanks.
Okay, Ryan, we'll take a question from Tucker White. Go ahead, Tucker.
All right, hang on, just need to get there. Ryan, as we've seen over the last few seasons, and most especially last season, the driver who performs the best over the course of the season doesn't necessarily make the championship race or even go on to win the championship. Now, given how the playoffs are more luck making the championship round or even winning the title, how exactly are the playoffs a good method of deciding a champion, especially considering leagues like IndyCar and Formula One decide their champion via season-long format?
To be honest with you, I think Kevin Harvick said it a week or so ago that he'd rather win 9 races in a season, if it came down to it. So I don't know, I might be misquoting him, but I like winning races. So I guess if I had a season like he had, I'd be pretty proud of it. So I don't know. I don't really know what you want me to say, but that's what that's what I have to say about it, I guess.
All right, thank you.
Okay, we're going to take our next question from Kelly Crandall. Go ahead, Kelly.
Thanks, Amanda. Hey, Ryan. So you've been saying nothing changes with this charter situation. So does that mean you're not making contingency plans for yourself if, heaven forbid, you can't stay in the car this year? You're not planning, maybe having a backup plan?
I mean, I don't feel like I need one at this moment, so I'm continuing to go out and race and go out. You know, I'm going to race the modified quite a bit, so hopefully winning in that will kind of help things, and at the same time go out and maximize our days with 37 cars. So that's really what my focus is right now. Man, this camera's terrible.
And then the other thing I wanted to ask was, last year you had spoken and basically just expressed a lot of maybe disbelief and frustration at just the bad luck and things that had happened. So do you feel like you guys have you been able to maybe reset this off season and just
well, I mean, if you look back at a lot of things that happened, it was, I mean, for the most part, it was out of our control. Just either a victim of circumstances. When it came to some of the restarts, the guy who was aggressive ended up making out in the whole deal, and the guy that was kind of, you know, playing it safe sometimes ended up being the one who got wrecked. So that there's not much you can do there. We had a few motor failures, transmission brake, and you know, obviously the super speedways killed us a couple times. So there's really not much you can do when it comes to that, but we can focus forward and try to start the year off on a strong note. That's what it's going to come down to. And the first thing we got to do is show our speed and see where we stack up there.
Thank you.
Yep.
Sorry about that. We'll take our next question from Matt Weaver. Go ahead, Matt.
What's happening, RP?
Not much, Mr. Weaver.
So I feel like a lot of this conversation today is somewhat redundant, so I hate to pile on, but you talk about there's been some bad luck, there's been some misfortune, but I've always known you to be a very, you know, blunt and honest when it comes to yourself and introspective kind of guy. So where I'm getting at is when you look back on your Cup career and your time with JTG, what do you feel like are some of the things that you've done well, but what's stopping you from taking that next level? What do you need to do this year with all the uncertainty to make it happen, to come back next year and to have a long Cup career?
I think consistency is the first part of that. Where, you know, this is the first year where I get to work with Trent, or this is the second year I get to work with Trent. So I have the same crew chief again, which I'm excited about. You know, that's all things that helps. Like last year, I know Trent had a lot of success with Chris in 2019 and moving over to 2020, there was so many different variables and changes when you don't have practice and you know, there's just so many different things that change and not having practice really affected how quickly we could speed the process up. So I felt like towards the end of the year, we showed that. We were able to lead laps at the Roval. We were able to get a couple top 10s there late in the season and have some solid runs. So I look forward to the rest of 2021 and hopefully starting off where we felt like we left in 2020 and moving forward, because that's all you can do. It's just 2019 and 2020 were I mean, essentially really long building years. So, you know, I look forward to this year focusing on what we need to do to make sure that we get a good start to the season, because I think you see, if you look back at our season last year, that's what really, you know, hurt our performance throughout the season, or our points position was, I mean, guys had pretty much a 3 to 4 race head start. You know, so it's that's what we're going to focus on, and hopefully all the things that we learned last year, what I do and don't like, you know, will help us start the races a lot better and continually, continue to try and keep gaining track position throughout the races.
And real quick, is there still a chance that you're trying to get Bubba in a modified?
I mean, I'd love to do it. I've gotten to the point where I need to focus on me right now and win races. And, one day if I'm lucky enough to make a cup career last long and have the opportunity to do something like that, I'd love to do it. It's just right now I need to focus on winning races and putting myself in the best spot possible.
Thanks, bud.
Yep.
All right, Ryan, that seems to be all the questions. Thank you so much for joining us today.
Anytime. Thanks for having me.
All right.